Now that the engines have been started, we can complete the taxi checklist either on the roll, or if it's a short taxi, as is the case today, we can execute the taxi checklist prior to moving. The captain will check the rudder pedals for full freedom of movement, and the first officer will wipe out the yoke. First, full forward, full aft, then full left, and full right deflection of the ailerons. Once the flight controls have been checked, the taxi checklist can be completed. Taxi check. Flaps. 1 on the handle, 1 in the FMS, 1 on the flap gauge with a green slat extended light. Takeoff speeds, 145, 146, 150, set on the MCP. Thrust, TO2, 33. Stab trim, 5.1, set. Flight controls, checked. The taxi check is complete. The taxi light can be turned on, the brakes released, and the aircraft moved to the runway with a smooth application of thrust. Once takeoff clearance, or rather taxi clearance, has been granted by air traffic control and the departure runway is known, the pilot flying can give a brief to the pilot monitoring referencing the departure. It would go something like this. We're departing from runway 16 right at Payne Field via the Payne 6 departure. The first fix is Seattle. There are no speed or altitude restrictions. We'll be in heading mode up to 9,000 feet. Are there any questions? If there are no questions, the flight attendants can be notified that takeoff is imminent and to take their seats. Approaching the runway, when the runway sign is visible out the window, the before takeoff flow can be completed. Typically, this would be done on the roll, approaching the runway. However, today, for tutorial purposes, we will execute this flow at a stop at the hold short. As we bring the airplane to a stop, we will not set the parking brake, as a set parking brake will interfere with the takeoff configuration warning check. Alright, let's run the before takeoff flow. Engine start switches should be selected to continuous. The auto throttle should be armed. The fuel checked against the minimum for takeoff, and the transponder selected to TARA. The captain, who is taxiing, will execute the takeoff configuration warning check. This is done by rapidly advancing the thrust levers to the takeoff position and then retarding them back to idle. In the pre-flight checklist, we did this individually and noted that the takeoff configuration warning horn sounded. Now that the aircraft has been started and is configured for takeoff, we expect that horn to remain silent. That constitutes a successful takeoff configuration check. Notice that the thrust levers were moved rapidly enough that the engines barely responded to their movement. Let's do the before takeoff checklist. Runway position. 16 right, full length in the FMS, and 16 right, full length outside. Flaps are 1 in the FMS, 1 on the gauge with a green slat light. Navigation briefing has been completed. The takeoff warning has been checked. Auto throttle is armed, verified by the FMA. Engine start switches are continuous. The transponder is in TARA, and the flight attendants have been notified and acknowledged. The before takeoff checklist is complete.